Y'all know who these legends are. You got Kendrick Lamar, one of the most successful artists right now. He had the biggest rap battle probably in the last 5 to 10 years. And he even just dropped the album that in a few weeks could honestly become platinum. On top of that, you just see the accolades. 57 Grammy nominations, 17 of those he won a Grammy. You look at the impact he has on culture, and you just look at his last albums too. Like just the way that's kind of been cemented in our culture. You got Michael Jordan. Some people consider him the greatest of all time when it comes to playing basketball. Not me though. Y'all know who I rock with. Referring to how other people feel, you have 6 rings, 4 MVPs. He actually is the only player to win an MVP and Defensive Player of the Year at the same time. The coolest thing is just him, the fact that he's called Jump Man. He isn't like Jump Man or one of the men that jump. He is called Jump Man. And then you have Dave Chappelle, probably one of the most highly regarded comedians of our time. Sold out shows, the influence he has on the culture, even the comedics around him, the way that they just kind of highly regard him and view him as the best. Now there's a confidence that these individuals convey, and of course it makes sense. You're saying, well, yeah, I'd be confident too if I was one of the best in my respective field. But when I say that these guys taught me confidence, or taught me a lot about confidence, I'm referring to the mentality they had even before they were cemented at the top, before the accolades and praise. It's a mentality that I believe they had going into their respective fields and before all the fame and the success came. There's 5 things that these legends taught me about self-confidence, and we're gonna start with knowing that. So to have self-confidence, one must believe that they can pull themselves through something. Depending on the task you're doing, you might need a little self-confidence to get the ball rolling, but as the difficulty of the task increases, you're gonna need more self-confidence to get the job done. There's a misconception where people believe that self-confidence is the thing that you're just innately born with, like you can't really work on it, and I disagree. I believe that self-confidence is definitely something that you can work on. It just seems that way because there's people who have been working on their self-confidence their entire lives. The way I kind of view it is how you can have someone that grew up around cooks, grew up understanding what it means to be a cook, and just they're good at cooking because of that. And then it's kind of like comparing yourself to that as someone who's never cooked before and saying, oh man, like I can't be a cook, I'm not a good cook because look at this guy, he's naturally a cook. It's kind of comparing those two things when it's like one guy worked on it and the other guy didn't. I understand that there's going to be people, if you looked at the cook scenario, some people are going to be naturally better cooks than others. I understand that. Even if you're initially a bad cook or you just don't have that kind of comfortability with it, you can still improve on that skill. To Pimp a Butterfly was Kendrick Lamar's 4th studio album, and he actually wanted it to be his first album, but he claims that he didn't have the confidence to do so. The year he released this album, he actually had the most Grammy nominations. But something I'm curious about is, would he have had that same success if he released this 4th studio album, To Pimp a Butterfly, as his first? And just straight up, I think no, even though it's a great album, I think there's a few reasons as to why. Firstly, like he said, he didn't have the confidence to make the album. The skills he acquired from the first 3 albums kind of gave him the confidence, or I would mainly say the skill to do the 4th one. 2, it's access to producers, samples, features. When you have success prior, it's easier to get these things. You have more influence in what you're trying to do. But lastly, and most importantly, at that point of his career, when he initially started with his first album, I just don't think he had the validation to create that album. Self-confidence is not an internal thing. We need other people's opinions to validate us. I know some people don't believe in that because they believe that self-confidence, again, is something that it's only you, and if anything, if you're looking for the validations of others, that sounds like what an insecure man would do, which makes sense because they would. The insecure man would seek validation to try and boost his own ego and how he feels about himself, but doesn't actually have any intentions of bettering themselves. Whereas the self-confident man, he is looking for validation only to know if he's on the right track. And I think the main difference we can tell between the insecure man and the confident man is how they deal with criticism. The insecure man is seeking validation somewhere, and in fact, if anything, he's actually faced with criticism, then he'll probably just go back in his shell or look somewhere else for validation. He isn't really trying to improve himself. Whereas the confident man, if he is trying to look for validation and he's actually being hit with criticism, he will look at that criticism, he'll internalize it and be better from it, because he understands that for you to be confident later on, you have to face the criticisms, overcome them, and then that kind of puts you in a position to be even more comfortable. If anything, criticism is the difference between the confident man and the insecure man. The confident man is looking for criticism. He understands he needs that, but the insecure man is going to run away from it. So I think that's the main two differences between someone seeking validation for the right or wrong reasons.
what you do. You ain't good at what you do. You great at what you do. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna mean this. Nigga, you got the torch, nigga. You better run with that.
You see Kendrick crying real tears, or if you didn't see it, I put like a little subtitle on it. He wasn't crying real tears because he needed to hear Snoop Dogg say that to be successful or to be confident in his work. He was already confident in his work. It's just a good feeling to hear someone highly regarded kind of tell you, hey, you're on the right track. It just gives you a little bit more confidence, even though he is a good artist. And just even referring back to Pimp Butterfly, again, would the success have been as good as it was when it was his fourth studio album? I don't think so, because prior to that album, the success of Good Kid, Mad City kind of put him in a position where his work was already validated. People were willing to sit down with the music and let it like marinate because of the quality he has produced prior. You get this respect and you get that validation after you've kind of proven yourself. You kind of see that with Michael Jordan with all the accolades, how many MVPs, how many NBA all-times that did he obtain. You see that with Dave Chappelle actually obtaining the Mark Twain Award, I think in 2019. And Kendrick, I mean, 17 Grammys is one thing. Like, it has been proven. Without validation, then you have no evidence of your confidence. And without evidence of your confidence, you're not confident, you gotta put the reps in. You may again convince yourself that to be confident is an internal thing and you don't need to have that validation externally, which is fine, that's your business. But you need to see that validation for yourself. The subtle divide between cockiness and confidence is simply just putting your reps in, just seeing the reps do the work. So a good example is basketball. Let's say you're taking 10 shots and you make 7 of them. The externally validating self-confident man is gonna look at the 7 shots and say, I made 7 shots, therefore like 7 out of 10, that's how good of a basketball player I am. The internally confident guy might say he takes 10 shots and it doesn't even matter if he makes or misses. Let's just say he doesn't even know if he makes or misses them. He will just look at the fact that he took 10 shots and say, I took 10 shots, I put in the work. I should be confident because I worked. But the cocky man doesn't even look at the 7 shots. The cocky man doesn't even look at the 10 shots because he didn't even take any shots. The cocky man, he says, I'm going to be a good basketball player. I don't even need to work on my game. When it's game time, I'm just gonna perform. That's how these people think. And so it baffles me because a lot of these guys that be talking shit, they don't work. There's no work or evidence to kind of validate this confidence. And you'll notice that these people that talk a lot of smack, it's really only when they're up.
Let's see if all that trash talking starts when it's 0-0 instead of 5-6 point lead. That's where it starts. That's the sign of a good man. If you can talk shit when it's even score, or talk shit when you're behind score. When you're ahead, it's easy to talk.
The fact that you only talk when you're up, when everything's going well for you, and when you're basically at the finish line, but then you're quiet when it's an uphill battle. If that happens, I think it speaks to your level of confidence. You actually don't believe in yourself to overcome that type of hardship. Michael Jordan understands that he needs to fail to be great. And we've seen him fail. All his failures have actually been televised a lot, but he understands that these need to happen for success to come along.
I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
It is through these failures that he actually then gains more confidence within himself. His mentality for being confident, it doesn't only happen once he makes those game-winning shots. This is the mentality that he has before he takes a shot, after he makes the shot, or misses the shot, in fact. He has his chin up regardless of if the shot goes in or not. When you compare the identities of Michael and Kendrick, you kind of see two different things. For Kendrick, you can see that when it comes to confidence, he has a little bit of more humble approach. I can make that argument better maybe like before the rap beef. And then Michael Jordan, he kind of has a little bit of a boastful mentality. He seems very confident, very full of himself. Some people might think that for you to be confident, that you have to be boastful, you have to be loud. Whereas others might think that, oh no, if you're confident, then you're gonna have a little bit of humility in yourself and you're not going to speak out about it, you're just gonna be confident. Some people think it's one or the other, but the truth is that To be self-confident, there needs to be a little bit of humility. You have to acknowledge that, hey, you're not good at something, or you're very far from where you want to be. Once you acknowledge that, you have to acknowledge what you lack, the skills you need to acquire, like why you're behind. And to kind of go through that process to be great, there has to be a bit of humility. It's kind of funny because it kind of seems like a contradiction, especially looking at like Michael Jordan and how boastful he may be. Just think of him as like, oh, like a humble guy. Like, what are you talking about? Just let it be known that the way you outwardly express your confidence is just based on your personality. Being humble or boastful in terms of confidence does not actually like improve or reduce your confidence. Like, it's the same confidence. It's just how you chose to express yourself. When you look at Michael Jordan and Kendrick Lamar, you kind of see that their confidence is just two sides of the same coin, and they can flip that coin. We saw that with Kendrick and how prior to this rap beef, or prior to, you know, in his earlier work, he took a more humble role. And then you see with the rap beef where he is full of himself and he is talking that smack. And for MJ, well, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen MJ be humble, but I'm just gonna assume in his life he has been. Whatever you express outwardly is not a full representation of your self-confidence. Self-confidence just is. However you choose to speak is your business, but the self-confidence within you stays the same. Self-confidence gives you the space to truly express yourself however you like. Self-confidence really just leads to So some of you might be wondering, okay, well, I saw Dave Chappelle on the thumbnail, but I'm not seeing him in really any of these examples. I'm maybe seeing him in the B-roll, but I'm not seeing how he applies to these rules about self-confidence. Well, I'm gonna show you right now.
And my mother used to tell me this thing, I don't even know if you remember, but you said this to me more than once. You said, son, sometimes you have to be a lion so you can be the lamb you really are. I talk this like a lion. I'm not afraid of any of you. When it comes word to word, I will gab with the best of them, just so I can chill and be me.
When you put in the reps to obtain self-confidence in yourself, it puts you in a position where you can truly be yourself. You know, you get more comfortable. You looked at a domain, you familiarize yourself with it, you conquered it, and now you can kind of chill and be yourself. When you look at Dave Chappelle, you kind of look at him and you say, that's truly him. You don't ever doubt that, oh, like, that's just an act he's putting on, that's just a facade. If you look at all the Netflix specials, all the documentaries, interviews, podcasts, really just anything, you kind of see someone and you truly believe that that is him. True authenticity has come from being as confident as you can be. And it comes with the validation, the reps you put in, and just internally knowing who you are and how good you are. True authenticity comes with a level of self-confidence. You really can't force it. It's just either it's there or it's not after you've put in the reps. It doesn't matter if you're loud or quiet when it comes to your self-confidence, because if you are truly confident, it's gonna reflect outwardly regardless. Whether if you're truly quiet and you like being quiet, you're just gonna be confident and quiet. If you're loud, if you're boastful, you're just gonna be confident, but now you're boastful. Because now that you're truly confident, however you want to express yourself, you're free to do so. And that's really all we want at the end of the day. We just want to be able to express ourselves, to be confident in ourselves, to be proud of ourselves. And that really only comes while working for your self-confidence. Because again, self-confidence leads to true authenticity. These are the 5 things that these legends taught me about self-confidence. 1, self-confidence is a skill. 2, it needs validation. 3, the subtle difference between cockiness and confidence is just simply putting in the reps and seeing the reps work. 4, self-confidence can either be boastful or humble. And all of these kind of amount to the last lesson, and it's that true confidence leads to true authenticity. And these are skills that I believe you don't have to wait to implement them. These are things that you can do at the top of your journey, at the beginning of your journey. Like, it doesn't matter. These are things you can implement today.
Are you growing dreadlocks? What's happening?
I'm just in the studio. I don't got time to look cute.